Johnny D here, walking down one of the finest streets in Key West, Florida, where I live half the year. And I thought of something as I was walking down this street. This is something I do quite often. And I think it has to do with how people invest. And the first thing that I kind of want to mention to that is I think a great idea when people come to me and say, John, where should I look for real estate investments? Where should I look to find properties? A lot of people ignore some of the higher end expensive areas in the marketplace because they're too expensive. And I think what the play is there for most real estate investors is to find the areas that are the highest priced areas and then work two things. Number one, work the worst house on the best block. This is like one of the best blocks here in Key West, Florida. So I'm going to show you in a second. I found a potential worst house on the best block kind of thing. So that's number one: worst house on the best block or worst apartment building on the best block. Or number two, I want you to be in the pathway of development. So even if you're in an area that's not so good, I'm not saying war zones, but not so good, you can be in a scenario where you can be in the pathway of that development. I think if most beginning investors focus with those two things in mind when they're looking for their first real estate investment, or maybe even their next real estate investment, I think you'll be in good shape. Focus on those two areas. I'm going to show you a second here. This is the best block. I'm going to show you maybe the worst house here in a second. Okay, so I'm just back a couple blocks here, and I wanted to kind of give you an example of what I was talking about. I'm literally a block and a half or so away from where I was on the best street, and this house here, and I'm going to turn, is really an example of what I'm talking about. It almost looks, from the looks of things, it almost could be haunted. I mean, look at some of this stuff. I'm afraid to even kind of walk in here, but you can see. You can see it's a little bit unkept, but this is the stuff that I'm talking about. This would be something that I would look at, because the finest area of this island, Key West, is right here. I can hit it with a stone. So this would be an example of finding the worst house on the best block, or worst apartment building on the best block. And I think for most investors starting out, or maybe finding that next investment, this would be really, really good advice. So again, just a review: you're going to find the worst house on the best block for your next opportunity, like this one right here, or you're going to find an area that's maybe not a war zone, but a tougher area, but you've bought the property that's in the pathway of development. I think if you can focus on those two things, you'll really be in great shape. Well, I better get out of here before this could be a haunted house, matter of fact. I don't know. I better get out of here before somebody starts to chase me. All right? Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.